Tait, and I'll be conducting tonight. Welcome to council and those in our audience. Thank you for coming. We are going to have a Pledge of Allegiance by Councilmember Fawcett.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father in heaven, we are grateful for the opportunity that we have here to meet today to discuss the needs of Harrisville and those who live within its boundaries. We pray that we'll be able to know the needs of those of whom we serve and be mindful of the responsibilities that we have. We are so grateful for all that we have been given, and we ask for these blessings in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Sorry, I rolled over on my grass. Okay. Item number 3. Consent items. Approval of meeting minutes for February 13th, 2024 as presented. Council, have you had an opportunity to look at those? Any changes? If not, could I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve meeting minutes February 13th, 2024 as presented.
I'll second it.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Second. Any opposed? All right, thank you. Motion carries. Item number 4, this is employee recognition. Dennis, do you want to come in and take this? I mean, Lieutenant. No, I mean, Assistant Chief.
Okay.
More.
So, we've been pretty busy over the last year, and I think you guys have been in touch with Chief Wilson a lot. He's been covering a lot of stuff for us. But right now, we've got a few things. We've hired our newest officer, which is Brayton Dock's daughter. We're going to do his swearing-in ceremony tonight. Jackie Van Meeteren just completed her victim advocates training. And then in investigations, we had Sergeant Davis go into investigations. And since November, they've been able to close an additional 135 cases with 28 arrests, taking our active caseload down to 91 cases, which is something where we've never been like that before. It's always just been a continually growing issue for us. So we're doing really well with our employees and the jobs they're doing. So I just want to say thanks to everybody in patrol, because it's just going really well for all of us. And I see that throughout the whole city. So I just want to say thank you to everyone, city council, everyone. It's just, we're doing a good job. It's awesome. So, and then Jason Keller, it was announced as the member of the year for the, I'm gonna mess it up.
Why don't you stand up and come on forward?
The Fraternal Order of Police.
So explain a little bit more what that means.
Hold that up. So he's the member of the year, and so the job he's done for us, not just as a department, has been equally as important for our entire community, just Harrisville, North Ogden, South Ogden, everybody. Reaching out, getting our stuff done with the Shop with a Hero, just arranging everything through the FOP, and they realized that what a treasure we've had with Jason Keller being amongst all of us, going out there and working as hard as he does. So they decided they better award him for a lot of hard work and a lot of personal effort that he's done with stuff, not just while he's been at work, but at home on his own time, reaching out and talking to other agencies. So he has really been a really good inspiration for all of us when it comes to how we work with each other, from one agency to another, from all the different things that we're looking at and all the things that we want to do. So he's just done a tremendous job, and he got this wonderful plaque for the 2023 Member of the Year.
Wonderful. Congratulations. Taylor, do you want to take a picture? Wait a second. Come back here. Detective Keller, come back. Nick, would you take a picture of him?
See the picture.
Because you're my boss.
Because you knew we were tonight.
Thank you, congratulations again. All right, you want to stay there? We're going to have an oath of office on item number 5. Great. I'm going to let you introduce him. You want to introduce yourself a little bit more?
Just give him just a real quick rundown.
Brady Dockstader, coming up on 10 years as a police officer. We live in Roy with my wife Cheyenne and 2-year-old son Sam.
And you've been here approximately 2 weeks, maybe?
A couple weeks now, yes ma'am.
Yeah, welcome. We're happy to have you here.
Thank you.
All right, I think Jack will give you your oath of office.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name,
I, Brady Dockstader,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will obey, support, and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Utah,
the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and that I will discharge
and that I will discharge
the duties of my office with fidelity.
the duties of my office with fidelity.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Nate, did you get the picture?
Yes.
And we want to congratulate you. You need to come up. You need to come up here and we're going to shake your hand. All right? Congratulations.
And he's being modest too. He's a 10-year veteran that's worked with most recently Ogden City Police and multiple assignments. And we're really excited to have him.
Wonderful. We're excited. Thank you. All of you. We appreciate all the officers we have in Harrisville. They've done a wonderful job, and we want you to know we appreciate you day and night. Glad to have you here. Okay, moving on to our business items. Item A is a discussion, possible action to adopt Harrisville Resolution 24-06, which is authorizing the creation of a local building authority. We are going to have a quick update by Jennie Knight on this before. You guys can come up here if you want, but we're going to have a quick update. We had some things happen last week that we need to be aware of before we turn the time over to Marcus Keller.
Good evening, Council. Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to brief you on some new information that came in on Thursday as we met with our architect in the pre-programming phase of the design of the City Hall and the Police Department. And I'd like to introduce Marcus Keller and Brandon Johnson. Marcus is our financial advisor and Brandon is our legal counsel for our bonding. And the architect has been able to lay out the entire site, starting with our Public Works building and then moving east with our City Hall, Police Station, and then with the Northview, combining our partnership with the Northview Fire Station. And as they were laying out the site to see access requirements and the size of the building types and balancing that on our campus, it became evident that it was most likely going to lay out with Northview Fire having an independent area exclusively for their building. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. It's not finalized by any means, but if it does in the long run end up laying out the way we discussed on Thursday, there's a great likelihood that we would be able to re-describe our parcels our city-owned parcels there, and Northview Fire would be able to purchase that property from us, bond against through their own means, and we wouldn't need to carry that bond for them any longer. That's new information based on what we had in our meeting on Thursday. So assuming that nothing changed drastically from that design, that looks like the direction that we're moving towards. We don't want to eliminate that option quite yet. It's pretty early. We still want to leave that door open. Their board was very open to the interlocal agreement, the negotiations. We were reaching out. Marcus was helping reach out to a third party to help us with those negotiations. But at this point, we're going to still create our local building authority. It looks like our budget will be a little tight for the City Hall Police Department, so there's a great likelihood we're going to need some additional funding to complete the project, and this will assist us with that. So having said that, I'll turn the time over to Marcus and let him brief you on, and along with Brandon, on what our next steps are for the local building authority.
Hi, good evening everyone. Marcus Keller with Cruz and Associates, and we have Brandon Johnson here too with acting as bond counsel, who's helped us with the latest sales tax bonds and helping us kind of figure out which direction we want to do this one. And as I told Jenny, you know, regardless of the final outcome, if it does come back that we do end up forming the center local, if that's the direction with the fire district, you know, we can obviously get through that. But as currently stands, it sounds like we may be able to just, you know, need some additional funds to finish up the City Hall project, which would be great. So I brought a few scenarios I'll go over today, but I think the final result or final thing I would kind of get at is that regardless of what direction we end up going, I think getting the LBA created today and having that in place, it's a very cheap thing. I think it's only a couple $100 every year to renew it, but it's very important for the city to have that in place so that if we do need either lease revenue bonds for this project, or if there's something else that comes along and, you know, you say, well, hey, we've got this shed we need to do for $500,000 or maybe $1 million in 5 years. Who knows how much anything's going to cost anymore, but you know, then you won't have to go through this creation process again. It will already be in place. And to answer just a few questions, because I just want to make sure everyone understands the local building authority, and I might have Brandon come up and explain some of the legal aspects of it, but per state law, this is the mechanism we can use in order to issue bonds and not have to go through a general obligation bond. So you would be able to pay for it from existing revenues. So if you have, you know, surpluses within your, you know, general fund or wherever that is, but the actual collateral is the pledge of land or a lease agreement between the LBA and the city itself. So again, it's actually been in the paper some recently just because some of the state legislatures changed some of the law because of some of the school districts and different things like that. But for your intents and purposes, it really is just a mechanism that you create a local building authority of Harrisville City. You are on that board as well, and you enter into a lease agreement between the city and the LBA. And investors, they understand that product. This has been done, I believe, over the past 25 years. And so it's an easier credit to sell now. And so there's really not very many concerns, but just be aware that you do get a little bit higher interest rate doing this versus the sales tax bonds. And so I'll go over that here in a minute, but I wanted to give Brandon just a couple minutes to talk on anything that I may have missed pertaining to the LBAs there. Thanks, Marcus.
Hi. I just wanted to explain a little bit more of the setup of the local building authority. Local building authorities are authorized under state law. There's a specific act in the Utah Code that authorizes it, and it's been approved by the Utah Supreme Court many years ago, and has been a common tool for cities and school districts and other entities to finance projects. What happens, and this is what you'll do tonight if you approve it, the city will create what's called a local building authority, and it's basically an alter ego of the city. The board of trustees of the local building authority are the council members, and you don't have to do anything to appoint the board of trustees. As council members change, the board of the local building authority automatically changes under state law. But as Marcus mentioned, it's a way to finance a project without doing a general obligation bond, without doing a bond election. And what the city would do for any project is the local building authority would actually be the one to issue the bonds, and then the local building authority would lease the project to the city, and the city would pay annual rent that's equivalent to the debt service on the bonds, and it would be an annual or semi-annual payment to the building authority. But essentially, the lease payments are just match the debt service payments on the bonds. And so tonight would be just the creation of the actual local building authority. No bonds would be authorized tonight to be issued, but it does give you the opportunity in the future to be able to do that if you wanted to use this financing mechanism.
Is there any questions so far before we kind of go into more on the bonding side itself and give you just a quick update there? Anything on the LBA or the creation resolution? So it's a lot of fun. I understand the legal nuances and the hoops we jump through. So I do have just a few things I want to hand out, if that's okay. So we can take one each and just pass it down. So I wanted to explain. I'll wait until I get back to the microphone range here. So again, as Brandon mentioned, what we're doing today is just creating it. This is not authorize any bonding. This isn't doing anything on that front. But I just want to prepare you because, as Jennie mentioned, there may be, later towards the end of this year where we come back and we have to discuss more on what we may be doing and what our options are. With potentially the Northview Fire District doing their own option and us not having to issue that debt under our lease revenue bonds, it may actually allow for an opportunity for us to do the new money as sales tax bonds, and then be able to also combine that with a potential refinancing of your outstanding sales tax debt. Just as a reminder, those are callable anytime. And so the reason I wanted to discuss that today is because it could just open up some potential, I just wanted to prepare you in case we come back here and say, hey, we're wanting a parameters for this large amount. And you're like, oh my gosh, how much is it? Well, just so you know, it could include the refinancing as well. So if you look at these two scenarios here, scenario 1, scenario 2, I didn't print all the numbers out because I didn't want to bore you to death too much here like I did with the lease revenue bonds. But in actuality, what it would do is we could potentially either just issue these bonds as standalone sales tax bonds, and so that might be something we look at if we say, hey, maybe the interest rates aren't very good. But if the interest rates come down, which a lot of people are projecting by the end of this year, beginning of next year, we may see a decline in interest rates, then we could potentially just combine all of your bonds together with the new money and take that to the market and lock in one low interest rate under your sales tax. If you notice the column on this left side, the green and the red, it's just a reminder that we do have a bond covenant that says we will not issue additional bonds unless we project that we will have 2 times coverage. Now that's because this was done as direct purchase. There's not a ton of flexibility. We didn't necessarily think we're going to need more. But if we refinance them all together, and if you look at the left side, we're right about 1.75 under scenario 2 if we do a refinancing and a new money together. We could actually change that bond covenant if we refinance all the bonds. And I've been talking to different bond investors and underwriters, and they say, yeah, there's not a big difference in credit worthiness between 2 times and 1.75. Like, we don't think you would get beat up or anything in the market. So just know when we do eventually look at this option, regardless, of what happens, right? Obviously, we'll just be flexible until we get a final, result from the architect and everything else. But if we end up just having to bond for a little bit of additional money to finish the City Hall project, we may actually go to the market and do it just as one big piece. And just be aware that if we do refinance it, right now, just based off current rates, so this isn't anticipating rates will go down, we think we'd save you about $30,000 to $35,000 a year in annual debt service payment. We're hoping that will continue to increase, so I'd like to see it closer to that 50 to 60 amount, or even more, right? That would be great. But one thing I do want to mention, so this is sales tax. So again, option 1 and 2 is saying, hey, this any money we need to finish City Hall, we do an additional sales tax bond, and maybe we refinance our other 2 bonds as part of it. The third option would be this bigger document I handed out to you, because I think there are some benefits to this as well. So a lease revenue bond, and this could be done in the market, it could be done as a direct purchase. It may be a little bit better to do this as a direct purchase like we did the other 2, because these credits aren't quite as strong as like a sales tax bond, so the market it fluctuates a little bit more. But one thing I wanted to point out that I think is a big benefit of this is if you go to the second page, at the top it says net debt service schedule. When you issue lease revenue bonds, you can actually do something called capitalized interest, or typically are issued with lease revenue bonds, where you don't have to make any payment on the bond through the first 2 years or through the construction cycle, which we anticipate would be about 2 years. So that does provide the city a little flexibility on that. So you would issue it as really a 22-year bond, but the first 2 years would be paid for from capitalized interest. Now, I don't want you to think this is free money. It would be bonding. So if you needed $7 million in proceeds, well, I'll just show you here in the numbers. So if you go to the very back page, the sources and uses, you'll see where that capitalized interest fund is calculated. So you'd see in order to make that payment from the bond proceeds, you'd have to borrow approximately $500,000 or $511,000 more. So you end up borrowing more, but it does allow you to use that to pay off the first 2 years of debt service of interest-only payments. So again, it's a give and a take. A lot of people like it if they're kind of a little bit of a crunch and they don't want to have to do a property tax increase, or can kind of smooth it out. But that is one benefit, I think, of lease revenue bonds, is you don't have to carry that burden as quickly. Whereas the sales tax bond, you would typically be anticipated to make the first payment within 6 to 12 months after issuing the bonds. So just a little something for you to, obviously you may not remember it here by the end of the year, we'll go over it again, but just want to let you know, we're looking at all the options. We want you to know we're prepared, so whatever the decision is from the architect and the city on the City Hall project, I think we've got a good plan moving forward. Is there any questions for me or for Brandon before you vote on the creation resolution?
It's a lot of information.
I know, I'm sorry. I should have broken it up. I apologize. But I'll send out PDFs as well. So Jenny, we'll get all that to you. So if anybody has any questions or want to jump on a call, we can. But just know, really 3 different options: sales tax and refunding, and lease revenue bond. We'll evaluate all 3 options when we get closer to figuring out how much money you may need to complete your project. But, excellent. Well, I'll go ahead and sit down, and if there's no more questions, we'll turn it back to Jenny.
All right, thank you. You got more down. So the resolution is to create the land use authority to be able to go forward with these options. Do you have any more questions or any additional comments that we need to probably have, Marcus?
Main thing I was just wondering, if we do go with, and maybe this is not the right time, I don't know, but if we do go forward and the fire goes ahead and buys their land from us, where are they gonna get the money, and is that gonna be a tax increase to our citizens?
Go ahead.
So the main incentive for us carrying the debt for them is they don't have the same bonding mechanisms as the city, and they needed to own the property to be able to bond against the property. So if they are able to purchase the property from us rather than being on our campus where we still own the property, then they would have a bonding mechanism. That's my understanding. Correct me if I'm wrong, Marcus.
Yeah, so the district does already have an LBA. So if that was always, yeah, as you mentioned, there was always this weird little credit thing because they would want to be on the property and on the land. But as Brandon described, there would be a lease agreement in place pledging the collateral on the land so it could kind of encumber the cities, or it would be very hard to kind of break it out from what the city owns. So if there's a separate parcel, then the district can just do their own lease revenue bonds under their LBA, the LBA of Northview Fire District. So they should be ready to go at that point.
And the second question, as far as a tax increase, it would not be, if they were to impose a tax increase, it wouldn't just affect Harrisville's residents, it would be the fire district residents. But we don't know what their financial standing is.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
It would be up to them, but this allows them to have full ownership of the station.
Yeah.
It would be
I think
the
it's
preferred
cleaner.
option.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of what happens, if they come back and it doesn't work, then we can make the other option work. I don't want you to think that that's a bad option, but if we can just give them their own parcel and they can kind of have it separated out, and now they have their own building, then it's great. That's how you would typically see this type thing versus the city having to kind of bond for it to avoid any cross-collateralization of credit. So,
Thank you.
yep.
Thanks.
Good question. Any others? All right, are you prepared to?
Well, I have a question.
Oh, go ahead.
What kind of time crunch are we on that we'd have to, I mean, we have to vote on this today without doing some of our own research, or is this kind of where we're at, we need to get this out?
So you're not making a decision on any of this?
Right, no, I know,
financial
just
stuff.
as far as. the
All we're doing
LBA.
is creating a land use authority. We've done it. Have we done this in the past? Is that what we did before, Marcus?
I think you've approved RDAs or CRAs in the past, but this would be different. But the nice thing is, once this is done, it's usually indefinite. You just pay the registration fee every year with the state. I think it's $100. But from what I've understood, I think some of the bigger decisions pertaining to the actual bonds are going to be where you would actually vote to approve a bond would be at the end of the year, or beginning of
Yeah.
next year. So that's,
Yeah,
I
no,
think,
I understand.
on the time side.
So does that answer your question about the timelines, I guess, is that?
Kind of, yeah, we're good though.
Any other questions? All right. Are you prepared to make a motion, anyone?
I'll make a motion that we adopt Harrisville Resolution 24-06, a resolution authorizing the creation of the local building authority.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. I need a roll call on this. Councilmember Weiss?
Yes.
Councilmember Fawcett?
Yes.
Councilmember Williamson?
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson?
Yes.
Councilmember Christensen?
Yes.
Thank you. That was unanimous. Appreciate you both coming out. Item B on our business items. Discussion, possible action to adopt Harrisville Resolution 24-05, which is a resolution approving a boundary line adjustment. Jennie Knight.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to pause just a moment as I pull up my packet here. Chriselle from D.R. Horton, I think she's with us now. I'm just going to share my screen, and then I have the survey to describe exactly what the area that's being adjusted entails. So as part of the Dixon Creek Park development, as they were surveying and going through their processes, they discovered a discrepancy on this west area where it's kind of bubbled in the red area, where the fence line and the boundary line of the property did not match. So they proposed a boundary line adjustment to us, that we move the boundary of the property to the fence, the existing fence, which is about a foot difference between where the original property line existed and where the fence is. And so this boundary line adjustment describes the city's current parcel. This is the area, are you all familiar with where I'm talking about? It's the retention basin over off of Washington Boulevard, where Dixon Creek comes down from Washington, cuts through that property, the Dixon Creek Park, and then comes down the west side. So the city owns the retention basin area here, and that's where the boundary line would be adjusted by a foot to the west. So the boundary line agreement includes the original legal description for the city's property. There are several owners involved on the developer side, and it describes their current property. And then the exhibits include the new descriptions with the foot moved over there. And as I mentioned, Chriselle Travis from DR Horton is here on Zoom if you have additional questions about the survey or have any concern with this boundary line adjustment. There is also included a memo. We did have Matt Robertson review the boundary line, and his memo is recommending this boundary line adjustment. His team up at the city engineer's office went over the legal descriptions. We worked out some discrepancies in the finalized versions he doesn't have any issue with.
Space behind the development.
Do we have to compensate anybody?
No,
Just matter of switching?
it's just cleaning up the boundary lines. We like to do this when we can with development that comes in. Whenever there are discrepancies like this, we like to clean up the plats before they're recorded.
So it's literally a matter of just redrawing the line. Who owns that?
Nobody's disputing it.
No. It's just the private property owners. We are one of those private property owners and the developer.
Any more questions, council? If not, may I have a motion?
I'll make the motion. See if I say this right. Discussion and to adopt the action for the Harrisville Resolution 24-05, a resolution approving a bond boundary line adjustment.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second, thank you. This is also a roll call. Councilmember Jackson,
Yes.
Councilmember Williamson,
Yes.
Councilmember Fawcett,
Yes.
Councilmember Christensen,
Yes.
Councilmember Weiss.
Yes.
Thank you. The resolution is approved. Moving on to item C. This is a discussion, possible action for 2024 city goals. Turn it back over to City Administrator Jennie Knight.
Thank you, Mayor. So I just want to do a quick review of our 2023 goals and where we are with relationship to those goals that we set, and then any additional goals that you'd like to add. So our first goal was to update our franchise agreements. We are in process with identifying our old franchise agreements. We do have some deadline or some dates that we need to renew some of those franchise agreements. But we are limiting new franchise agreements. Most recently, we were approached by fiber optic, and we've opted not to enter into more franchise agreements where they're coming through and we would have to waive fees on our infrastructure when they come in and create their lines for their fiber optic infrastructure. So we're opting not to enter into those any new franchise agreements through that update. The city flag was also a goal. We had the YCC, the Youth City Council, held a flag contest and gave a presentation, I believe in the summer, this last summer. And no flag was officially adopted at the end of that contest and they turned that back over to council if you want to take further action on developing a city flag. The business license study is the third goal. This has been completed recently. We are finishing up the details of that study and we will present that to council during the April City Council meeting with the recommended changes with our business license fees. The Healthy Utah Communities was our fourth goal. We achieved our Healthy Utah designation at the mid-year League of Cities and Towns Conference last April in St. George. We are continuing our walkability audit. We haven't completed that quite yet. That's still in progress. A portion of the city has been walked, but there are several open areas. So if any of you have interest in helping us complete that, please just get with me or our deputy recorder, Cynthia Benson, on completing that audit. To increase our community activities, we did increase our movie in the park this last summer. We purchased the equipment that we needed to offer those services, and we have most recently talked about options, either having our FOP sell food or having food donation available there for residents for our movies in the park this next summer. Our Easter egg hunt was successful with new locations for the different age groups, so we broke it out a little bit differently. The Fall Festival, we had record number of attendance at our Fall Festival. Our Santa Parade was, again, well attended, and that preceded our Santa at the Cabin event. Our Shop with a Hero included even more children than years past, and our Giving Tree was once again a successful participation by our community. Our economic development and moderate income housing reports, we did receive our compliance notice in August that our moderate income housing report was accepted. We are continuing to look for additional ways through our planning to meet our new strategies for this next year. As you're aware, we have to meet the goals that we've set for ourselves on the strategies. We have to show that we are taking action on those strategies. We can't just say we have them. We have to show some type of effort. So through the Planning Commission, we have had a few of those strategies presented to them for their review. And we are continuing to look for ways to increase our commercial development. We've seen kind of a natural increase in commercial development recently. Some of the vacancies down in our strip malls around Walmart, you'll notice there's some construction taking place down there. And the next goal is our new municipal complex. We kind of touched on that with the local building authority, and we did put out an RFP for the architectural services, and we are working through that pre-programming phase. We're also working with UDOT for access to Highway 89. They have a resurfacing project that's supposed to take place this summer, and so we are working diligently to try to get our connection on the east side to Highway 89 in place before that resurfacing project is completed. The Ben Lomond groundbreaking, wish that we had put the shovel in the ground for that goal, but we do have a little update on that. There has been some change in movement over in the ownership of the golf course. Staff has recently met with new involved parties there, and they have gone over all the phases that have been approved through the city and made commitments that they are going to start on that project. So hopefully we will see something in this season. And our utility rate analysis is the last one that we had identified. We are currently conducting our updated garbage service review, and we will also include that on your April council agenda with new information that we have proposed for addressing the gaps that we had in our garbage services. So we have a couple of goals that we have as staff set for 2024 to complete our public works complex and move in about a year from January at the latest. We'd like council to take into consideration the possibility of hiring a full-time planner for the city. And we want to complete our park impact fee analysis. We've updated our stormwater, our sewer, and our transportation all in the last 2 or 3 years. And the remaining one is our park impact fee. So we would like to move through that process in 2024. Are there any other goals you would like for us to add? Or any of these previous ones you'd like to keep?
Groundbreaking at Ben Lomond
about some of our goals at a retreat, if you can remember those. And we actually need to create them and have them identified here. Do we have park impact fees that we need to identify?
That's the park impact fee analysis.
Right, so we need to have some help with that. Is that already the goal that we've been talking about?
That's one of our
Okay.
staff suggested goals for this next year. We have a couple of developments that have areas that will be developed into parks that we want to add to our facilities plan to make them eligible for park impact fees.
Do you want to add that? You guys have to really, literally say yes. That's a
Yes.
goal. So we've got just the two goals so far. We've got the minimum and groundbreaking and that. What about hiring a planner?
What does that entail?
Well, this last year, we've contracted with Jones and Associates to use one of their employees as a planner. Unfortunately, there's not anybody available at City Hall to answer those planning questions when the contract. And so a lot of that's still falling on my plate. It's becoming more and more difficult for me to balance all of those responsibilities. I'm happy to continue to do what I can, but
Do you mean you don't like the 6 hats you wear?
as long as they're different colored and I can keep them straight.
I think that's something we need to have on the goal.
Okay.
That is a goal. And I guess a lot of the questions at this point in time probably wouldn't be appropriate, but, you know, how much is it gonna cost, things like that.
Things we don't really know yet.
Yeah, that's what I mean, so I'm gonna refrain from asking all those questions, but I think
That's it.
that's a good goal. As the city's growing, there's a need for more staff.
Do you want to review some of those goals that we had last year and still have them as a goal? We achieved it.
You said the UDOT Highway 89, that's still a goal. Get
The
rid
city
of-
complex, that's all encompassing.
So you said as far as more businesses coming into Harrisville, is that gonna stay on? I think that needs to be on.
Yeah, we should continue
Yeah, we'll keep that
on
one on. I know natural attrition, you know, filling places is great, but are we actively going out and pursuing something? And that's the question.
that. Would be very helpful to have a planner to help with that.
That's what I was gonna say.
So we'll put that as a job for development.
Yeah.
We had the Healthy Utah Communities Award walkability study. That is still, I helped with that last year. It wasn't that hard. You could identify that as still a goal.
I think it'd be a good goal.
So I know we've done a lot of talking as far as assessments in the roads and what their needs are. I don't know how to put that in a goal, or is that something that's just ongoing?
What would you call that, Justin?
We have our West Harrisville Road project, but that's in 2025.
Yes, that'll be 2025. Essentially, it's, if you guys make that a goal and a priority, I can definitely put that as the top priority is budgeting in my roads department that we already are assessing and trying to update roads. I know just last year we had 1,100, a big section of it resurfaced, because there was some pop-up marks. There's always a need for road care. It's just how much funding and sources of funding do we get that comes for that.
I guess what I'm saying is a lot of the communication, like we were at luncheon today and several of the residents were talking about that. I had no answers.
Yeah.
And so I'm talking about more of a communication than it is.
And
that is
I would
what
be
we're bringing to
more
the
than
table.
happy if any time you guys wanted to sit down and talk, give me a call, want to go for a drive, want to jump in a snowplow truck with us and go on a ride along.
We'll have brisket next month. Would you like to come?
Well, I usually have a monthly conflict with that, because I meet with all the other directors in the county.
So what else is it gonna take besides brisket?
Well, that might be, I might have to miss the county meeting. Again, yeah, transparency is huge for public works.
And
And if that's a goal that we want to have, is more transparency.
Do you want a report or something?
Yeah.
I mean, we try and do those reports
I know.
here. How do you want to?
I just wanted, and maybe that's not necessarily something as far as a goal,
Okay.
but making sure the communication is filtering down through. Because, you know, if I'm prepared for these things, then
100%.
we can make that a lot easier. And then I can say, Justin will tell
Yeah,
everything.
and I'm always more than willing
Oh, yeah.
to come to your luncheon and do a brief presentation, as I know other staff has in the past. So just call on me, not a big problem. I'll put something small together and definitely be transparent as I can.
Aren't we doing 2,000 this year?
So 2000 is gonna have a striking project done.
Oh, I thought you were gonna grind it.
No, we don't have the funds to.
Okay.
Essentially, we're kind of holding off on a lot of major grinding and mill downs and overlays due to the two big road projects we have, which will be the City Complex Road and the West Harrisville Road. But if there is spots, you know, we do small patches of grinding and overlays if we see that the road's really bad.
So a suggestion is, why don't you just, on the website, set something up and just say, these are the projects that we have laid out for 2024, and then that way we can, you know, say, folks, look at the website,
Yeah.
here it is, and these are the things that are gonna happen.
Perfect. Yeah, I have no problem working with the people that run the website, the admin staff that runs the website, and keeping things updated.
I just think that would probably help people get a little more information.
Perfect. Also, we do post a lot on Facebook on the Public Works page, so if you follow that, that helps too.
Any other goals? I think we're going to face a couple of those next month when we do the garbage services. Do we have that as a goal? Because it looks like we're going to accomplish it.
Yeah, I think we need to make sure that we accomplish it. We're not gonna have to pick up a bill against it.
We hope to give you some good information next month on that.
What was the second one we're going to have on the
Business license study will be, it's completed. We just had a few things, we actually had it on the agenda for tonight, but we had a few things we needed to tidy up before it was ready for presentation. So we'll be presenting that in April.
So we want that as another goal and we'll have it.
Yeah.
Goals of the goals, I like that.
Actually, that's about 10. Is that sufficient or would anyone like to add anything else? Good?
I like it.
Okay. Thank you. All right, if that's it on that one, we are going to, with your approval, council, we had an error on the agenda that we neglected to put public comments on there. I need your approval to go ahead and call for public comments.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? All right, we'll go to that one and have public comments. So this is an opportunity for anyone in the audience right now to come forward, come to the podium, state your name. You have 3 minutes to state your concern.
My name is John Perry. I live at 244 West, 1600 North. And this winter, I appreciate getting these notices from the police department saying that, you know, if you're parked on the road when there is snow, you could be towed. Because I know some of my neighbors didn't know that. But what I do have a problem with is the second notice that said, and they have placed this on the vehicle during a period when there is no snow for at least a week, and there was no snow coming for a period of time. I get a notice that says, if you're parked on the street, you will be towed. Period. We wouldn't have this ordinance if there was no snow. So I don't understand why the citizens of Harrisville are being harassed or terrorized and threatened by the police department that their vehicle will be towed when there is no snow on the road, there's no snow in the forecast. Can you answer that for me?
This is not a dialogue, John. This is your
Okay.
3 minutes to express
Well,
your
I
concern.
have a problem with it. And if the code needs to be rewritten so that the police department understands that this applies to when there is snow on the road and they're gonna be plowing, that's one thing. I can help with that. But if they're gonna continue to harass the citizens for parking on the road when there is no snow in the forecast, and there is no reason for them to not be parked on the road, then I have a problem with that. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments? If not, I am going to close public comments. Moving on to our mayor council follow-up. I'm going to start with you. Max, you have anything?
Other than, I don't know if everyone knows that Chief Hadley, or Pleasant View's wife, died yesterday. They're gonna try to have her service Friday. Watch the Myers website for when and where.
All right. That's Chief Hadley's wife.
That's it.
All right, thank you. Grover.
We had a very successful senior luncheon today. We found out that there's some people that would love to have brisket every month. So I was teasing a little bit, Justin, but yeah, it turned out to be very, very good, those that came. And the nice part is that next year our next month really will be almost a full year that we've been working on it. And it's gradually growing, it's getting a good pace. And a lot of questions were being asked, and I asked just an open review of what do you want to see and how you doing it. They plan the next year as far as what food they want, and there were several good questions that came up and some things that we passed on. One of the concerns of one citizen happened to be the water over in this new park, or this new subdivision between Maxine Grange's house at the back. That used to be able to be drained, and it's flooded and it's staying flooded. It may not be our problem, it may be the developer, but there is a problem there, and she was concerned about that. And I think she's concerned that it doesn't come back on her direction. So I wanted to pass that on for what it's worth. And other than that, it's been a lot of fun doing this, and we're seeing a lot of support. So we encourage all of our senior citizens to come. It's up on the website. They can call me and let them know what's going on.
Thank you. We appreciate you and Diana doing that.
Oh, we're happy to.
Great. Karen, anything?
I just had a question about, I love getting the packets, but is there any way we could get, or at least me, I don't know, things as they come available? If I'm working the weekend, they come out, I have about 2 minutes to look over briefly. So that would give me a lot more time to be able to look at them and be more knowledgeable about everything because that's important to me, to make sure that I'm knowledgeable about what we're talking about. I didn't know if that was a possibility.
I don't know if that is either. Jenny, you want to respond?
So one of the incentives for our staff to post them on Thursdays is to give as much time as we can after we've had the public meet, or the developers, or whatever party meet the deadlines for the city to get that out. Certainly we can make a better effort if there are larger packets to get that information to you. The main concern I would have in providing it too early is the modifications that happen to that packet before. But certainly when they're large packets, we can try and get that into your hands. I know when we've had master development agreements, we've tried to send those out 2 weeks prior, so that some of them can be 600 pages or more. So we try to get those out to you in enough time for you to review them. We can definitely make a better effort for that.
And then I've had a few people concerned about the affordable housing plan. Is that available to look at, or at least the goals on the website? Okay.
Yes, it's under our city, sorry, I have it pulled up for so it's under the About tab, the general plan, under the About tab. We have our original general plan that was adopted in 2019, and then our amendments that were adopted in 2022. And that moderate income housing report shows the strategies that we've identified and adopted.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Anything else here? Thank you. Blair, anything?
I don't have anything tonight.
Okay, Steve. All right. And I don't have anything, so we're gonna call on our department heads to give a brief report. Dennis, do you have anything more than, I mean, I called on you before, go ahead. And I keep calling you Dennis, I'm sorry.
So, as you know, we're still working on accreditation. They just moved over to accreditation standard number 7. So we're going back and redoing all of our standards, our policy to meet the new standards. I think there is 128 new standards to meet. So it's every time we're making headway, then we come back and we keep going forward. So this is still an ongoing process for us. I think we're moving well quite along. That's one of the things that they're going to be covering in the Chiefs meeting in St. George, is the accreditation process and a lot of the new things that are going to be encompassed with that. And then Mark and I will both be down there for that. And we're moving forward though.
And that's later this month, right? This one?
Yes.
You're going down, yes. Okay.
And then we were worried about having an accreditation deadline. We were advised specifically that as long as we're showing that we're consistently moving in that direction, that they know that this is an ongoing process. And for fully staffed agencies that have a team devoted to this, it takes about 3 years. And where it's basically me and Jackie and Mark, when they have the opportunity to help me, it's going to take us a little bit longer. We've got a pretty good group going right now. I think we should be able to get this done. We're hoping by the end of the year, and hopefully sooner, but we don't want to push it too fast. That's what we've been really cautioned with, is don't press this too fast, because you're going to make mistakes and then we're going to have to come back and fix them all through the accreditation council. So that's where we're pushing forward. Landon Silverwood accepted a tentative job offer to start in May for this year, which will bring us up to our 13 officers, which will really help with our scheduling. Right now we're using a 12-hour shift to help us cover all those holes in our current needs, fulfilling what we need for our city, and we'll just keep moving from there.
Wonderful. Thank you for the report.
Okay.
We're going to move on to parks. Director 5.
So I think on the forefront for us is the Easter egg hunt on March 30th. That'll be at 10 o'clock in the morning. We have just right at about 8,000 eggs. So last year we split the kids up into 3 different sections, and the grass is just littered with color. So it's pretty fun. Just would invite you to come out and see that and support that. We've got a couple of other projects going on right now, and just wrapping up with basketball, gearing up for baseball and softball, going right into that. So staying busy.
Thank you.
What time is that Easter egg hunt? Sorry.
10 o'clock.
Thank you.
Don't come at 10. Come before. All right. Public Works. Director Shinsley.
Seems like we moved to one season to the next. It's my second favorite time of the year, flood season. There is a lot of water. We know that the clay just does not absorb the water in this area, so we do have sandbags. We are getting flyers and posters out, and notification that people need sandbags. They can come to Public Works and get them. We're going to start our semi-annual street sweeping here at the end of the month, the 1st of April. Big update. Hopefully by the end of this week, we're waiting on some bolts to be revised on our Public Works facility, but as soon as those are done, hopefully we'll see cement trucks and cement filling those forms and start seeing some more movement if the weather cooperates also. We're still waiting on some final notices on grants and grant money. We are currently working to get some ramp funding for the small ramp grants to help subsidize for the Easter Festival and the Fall Festival. And then again, we will work really diligently to be more transparent on projects that the city has through Public Works and update our website.
And moving on to administration, Jennie Knight.
So I just have a last call for the League of Cities and Towns Conference in April. If you plan to attend, those dates are April 17th through 19th. And if I have a couple of us that have confirmed registration on that, but if you plan to go, I think the deadline is coming up next week for the registration before late fees are tacked on. So just get a hold of me if you plan to attend that. And if you are still having email issues, or if you've not completed that email transfer over to Microsoft 365, please be in contact with Jason Clients, our IT provider. And it does take a few minutes for him to get that set up for you. And then to your point earlier, Councilmember Fawcett, there is a mode I kind of fell into today that maybe we could utilize for the packets between the council pre-packet posting, that we could throw some information in there and you could be reviewing that. I'll look into that to see. It just dawned on me. I kind of fell into the group creating contact groups today, so let's see if we can come up with some systems.